Now less than a month to go in the lawmaking session, you can feel the tension turning up this week. Case in point, the Senate vote on the bill that includes more restrictive rules on terminating a pregnancy. People protesting from the gallery prompted the Senate president to stop down and clear the seats before the vote. And afterwards, in a peaceful sit-in type protest outside Tallahassee City Hall, police moved in to arrest 11 people, including the chair of Florida's Democratic Party, Nikki Fried, and the Senate Minority Leader, Lauren Book, who had just cast a no vote on the bill whose title is now changed to Heartbeat Protection Act. Senator Lauren Book is with us today live. So grateful you chose an hour away from your family just to be with us today. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
So in the interest of kind of a little segue, let me start with that name change on the bill, Heartbeat Protection Act. Now the name going forward, it used to be Pregnancy and Parental Support. There's both of those things in the bill. What do you think, Senator Book, that telegraphs?
Look, I think that this is virtue signaling. They're using religion and politics to move forward an agenda, and that is extremely dangerous for women, girls, and people across the state of Florida. We know that there is no heartbeat at 6 weeks. Implying so really does try to elicit an emotional response to something. And at the end of the day, we know that women across the state of Florida, we've heard about the situation in Texas, are suffering greatly for it. Wanted pregnancies aren't being able to get some of the true appropriate health care that they need because of the ban that passed last year, and more women and girls will suffer because of what is happening now.
You know, you bring up something really interesting. I want to talk about the arrest also, but something you just said really, it's a very interesting sort of popular opinion poll. People in Florida, by and large, do not favor such restrictions on abortion. And yet, in the legislature, your colleagues do, by a large majority, favor that. Where do you think that disconnect is?
Look, I think that it has been very clear the governor is running for president, and the legislature is doing a lot to make sure that he attains that goal. I have heard from the other side of the aisle folks who did not necessarily support or appreciate a 6-week ban, but went along to get along. And again, women and girls will suffer from it. Actually, 75% of Floridians don't believe that this is good, smart, or safe policy. They want to talk about people using abortion as a means for birth control when we know that isn't the case. This is going to step in the way of women receiving true and appropriate health care. Abortion is health care. I know of 2 women in my district alone who had very wanted pregnancies. And guess what? No pregnancy, as you know, Glenna, is alike, and had some really serious complications, and they needed to take the pregnancy after 15 weeks, but they weren't allowed. So what did these women have to do? Go home to develop sepsis to get the care that they need. That's third world. That is not appropriate. That is not in line with the values of Floridians. This is wrong, and it's going to get worse.
This is one of those, we talk a lot about this issue, this debate, and in the past 2 sessions, the bills that had come up, we talk a lot about it on this program, and it just seems that this is one of those things. There is no daylight in the debate whatsoever. There is no compromise. The opposition is very faith-based. There really is. When you believe something in that faith-based way, you are adamant and steadfast in those principles, and I think that's what you're seeing now coming out of Florida's legislature. So this is number 2 of the restrictive bills. Last session, we saw some arrests. Actually, it was after midnight in the gallery after the vote. It was a House vote then, arrests for trespassing in the Capitol. This time, outside the Capitol, you, Nikki Fried, were among 11 arrested in what was not an outburst, a sit-in, a peaceful protest in the park outside of City Hall, and we're watching some of that video right now on Monday night. Was this kind of by design? Because this got a lot more attention than the actual sit-in, and you did say you were going to fight. Was this what you were hoping?
No, here's one thing I've learned. I've never gotten in trouble in my life, never gotten a detention. You wear different shoes when you're going to go to a situation like this. No, but let's be very, very clear. My position on abortion choice has always been clear. My fight has always been clear. And as you know me, I'm not the person who's going to sit on the other side of a barricade when women are literally putting themselves on the line. There was a press conference at 7:30. We were there along with Senator Berman, and we're talking to the folks who had been there throughout the week, advocate, or the day, I guess it's been a very long week on Monday. And it became very, very clear that things were escalating. And I sat with these women. I was bearing witness, listening to their stories. My sister came up. This is very personal to women. People say, don't make it so personal. This is politics. There is nothing more personal, more in who and what we are as women when it comes to right to choose, to decide what happens to our body when you are, everything is being taken from you. I mean, we're seeing now in Texas with the ruling on Friday, banning in 7 days the use of mifepristone, one of the #1 medications for medical abortions. They are coming for women. Women and girls will die. And I was not going to stand idly by and sit and let other folks just take up the mantle. I am a part of this collective and will do everything I can as the minority leader in the Florida Senate. We have always talked about showing up differently and doing the work and meeting people where they are. And this was not a time to abandon ship or leave women alone.
So to your point, this is, Tallahassee police. We reached out. Tallahassee police said it was a closed space after sundown, and they did issue warnings before the arrest. Watching the video, I mean, appeared to be more officers than arrestees. So, there was clearly a mindful sort of status of cameras watching. Some of your opponents pointed out that you fundraised after the arrests, but so did President Trump after his indictment. So that is a thing, I guess, in politics. But does this show like a turning point of Florida Democrats who are so vastly outnumbered that you really can't get what you want this session? Is this a turning point in strategy?
I want to be really clear. I didn't fundraise after this occurred because that would be completely, totally illegal. Perhaps the chair did.
Yes, she did. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I was clarifying. Look, I was there to bear witness and sit alongside these women. I think things are different. I think things are changing. We're not stopping bad policy the way we used to because we don't have the numbers. But I do think and I do see that people are fighting back. And we as a collective, we've talked a lot about our caucus fighting differently, holding people accountable, calling out the hypocrisy where we find it. One of my colleagues, Senator Pizzo, has been on the show a lot, personally suing the governor, calling for that accountability. We all, every single one of us, all 12, we call ourselves the Dirty Dozen, work extremely hard to meet our constituents where they are. And just because the right has their edict, as it were, from their dear leader and their constituents, we do too. And we represent our constituents the best that we can. And sometimes our numbers aren't there, but we're going to continue to do the work each and every day so that their voices are heard.
So in Florida, and I really, each of those conservative members who are voting have constituencies. And I have to think that, I know a lot of them, not all of them. I know everybody from South Florida, and all seem to be very mindful of serving their constituencies. So again, I want to sort of pose that question again. Where do you think the breakdown is between what popular opinion might be on this subject and popular opinion within the Capitol this session?
I think that people tend to forget where they come from when they come to Tallahassee, and they live in this fishbowl of what is important. And, everyday people are focused on getting food on the table, getting their kids to school on time, making sure they can pay for their property insurance, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, and live their day-to-day lives. A lot of people don't even know what's happening in Tallahassee, but it's still happening. And your rights are still being stripped away, whether it's this abortion issue or the union busting issue or the extreme tort reform bill that blocks access to the courts. These things are still coming down the pike. They're still happening, and people just need to be aware a little bit of what's happening to hold their members of the legislature accountable. I mean, the same day that the governor quietly signed the permitless carry bill, making sure that you don't need documents to receive a deadly weapon, they were passing off the floor a bill where women who are survivors of rape and incest need to provide documents to get an abortion. What world are we living in?
On that note, I want to thank you so much, and the pups behind you for joining us. No problem whatsoever. It's great to have you, and I know as this all comes to pass in the next month, we hope you will come back.
We will. Thank you.